Virtual high five, Brett.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've bonded over the Oxford comma. Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We're at episode 742. This is being recorded on September 27. Yes, another month is winding down in the year 2023. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
The days are long, but the years are short and the months go even faster. I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm turning the crank on that time clock. I'm Brett Van Sprinberg.
And the clock has stopped. I'm Kent Burgess.
Was that because you're so ageless?
No.
I mean, he does collect his trading cards, so yes. Mm-hmm. He stops in the 70s.
If you didn't watch the pre-show, if you're not watching the live stream at youtube.com/PCPer, then you're missing out on some incredible content like discussions of, hey, remember when baseball cards had gum in them and it was hard to chew? And
gum.
Yeah. Gum. Mm-hmm. You can find out how to support us financially. That means with your hard-earned money. Give it to us. You don't know what to do with it. It's piling up. Go to patreon.com/PCPer. That's PCPer. And just start showering us with largesse.
I mean, really,
cash.
Who needs eggs? Who needs bread?
Yeah. No, stop eating eggs.
We do, Josh.
Exactly.
Stop buying meat.
I think what Josh is trying to say, if you tell us your name, we'll probably make up a story about your name, and we'll say it here. That's
not what he was saying, but I think it's a great idea.
Habits.
Yeah.
7 habits of highly effective people. Giving money to PCPer. Giving money to PCPer. Etc. You know.
Yep. Fill in the blank after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Josh, will you please tell us about your latest lunch experience?
Okay, so this was an kind of under the table special. They didn't have it listed yet. It was called the Cowboy Joe. So apparently, they didn't even tell what was in it, and I had to guess. And with the help of Kyle Bennett, formerly of Hard OCP, he kind of helped me out there. It is in fact brisket.
Was he under the table?
Was not jack cheese. It was queso, a spicy queso, red and green peppers sautéed with onions, and it was all kind of mushed together with a spicy sloppy Joe sauce.
Okay,
so
not pulled pork.
This was
wow.
This was fantastic.
It really
was so good. I mean, yeah, the queso, just the brisket.
Oh yeah,
the sautéed veggies, and then it was again. You know, you could see just a little bit of that sauce in the corner there, the upper left.
You got to take off the bun. You're just teasing us with this photo.
Yeah, staining the
better
paper.
with the bun on those.
Full frontal burger nudity is only for our Patreons.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on the. It's probably on Josh's OnlyFans.
No, it was. It was a really good burger. I mean, I had to really pace myself on it because it was so fantastic. So, you know, come to Laramie, enjoy the Cowboy Joe, but not that other Cowboy Joe. That would mean totally different things and probably cause you to be arrested. But this Cowboy Joe is fine.
Ryan Shrout, formerly of PC Perspective and then later Intel Corporation. He was there for 5 years. And he's out.
That seems not nearly as long as it actually... No, that seems longer.
Yeah, that seems longer.
Doesn't seem like he's been there for 5 years. Then again, it doesn't seem like I've been here for 15.
Yeah, let's not think about that.
Ryan tweeted this out yesterday. Fall is a season for change. I'm quoting Ryan Shrout here. Yesterday was my last day at Intel. I'm going to take a couple weeks with the family. Then I'm excited to talk about what's next.
We regret to inform you that at this moment in time, we don't know who we're shilling for.
I pointed this out on Twitter.
When Ryan gets hired, we will certainly you could be able to point out our bias immediately. Because we are biased. We just don't know what for right now.
We don't have a strong sense of direction here at PCPer anymore, because obviously we were biased towards Intel. So I posted yesterday, breaking news, former PCPer owner no longer with Intel, Please suspect us of collusion with whatever company he ends up with. We aren't sure ourselves where to place bias yet. Stay tuned. So we will know where to be biased as soon as we know where Ryan ends up. So if he ends up at AMD, we're going to be Team Red all the way.
Yep, I like your take on that. We're going to try and inject as much BIOS as we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Intel all the time. Obviously, my blue light back here, that's going to have to go. If he goes with AMD, that's going to be red.
Red.
Period.
Team Red. You've got some active outerwear from your Team Red.
I do. I have one of those soft shell jackets from AMD.
Yeah.
So I have a little clicker here, and I'm just gonna, wherever he ends up, I'm just gonna change the color. If he ends up at NVIDIA, huh?
Oh, there you go.
Green.
That's green.
AMD. Where's the red? There we go. AMD.
There it is. There you
red.
go. AMD.
There's gonna be a little red behind me. See, and it'll be subtle.
happens?
Oh look.
What happens if he ends up at ARM? What color does
I can't reach my RGB controller.
Wait, I thought you weren't dark side. I thought you weren't Imperial side. Okay.
Yeah, but he'll shell for whoever, right?
Yeah.
Ken's on board.
I just look forward to the day when we can finally replace our BIOS with UEFI like everyone else.
Someday.
Yeah, well, you try and make a joke off of that.
I did, and it fell flat.
This is interesting move for Arc Graphics.
Yeah,
just because Raj is gone. Now, Ryan, one of the first guys that Raja brought on to help do stuff. We still got Tap. We still got Scott Wasson, a bunch of other guys. They laid off some of their software driver people 3 months ago. Battle Mage, it's probably going to come out, but where are they going to go from here? I mean, it kind of seems like it's more grim for long-term stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. This was probably 6 to 8 months. The A770 was about 6 to 8 months behind where it really should have been, where it could have made an impact, but it didn't. And now we're looking at mid to late 2024 before Battle Mage. And it's kind of scary. Intel needs to compete in this area. It's a huge amount of money. I mean, even Raja, who is now with a different AI group, is using Intel GPUs and says, hey, these things work really well for the AI stuff that we're doing, not just, AMD and NVIDIA stuff that we're using now. So, I mean, there is a future there, but they got to weather the storm and push through. But I don't know if they can, because previously it was all x86 everywhere. I mean, Larrabee was a bunch of x86 cores with vector units attached to it. And it was just, it was a disaster. I don't know. So it's kind of scary what Intel is going to do in terms of graphics, because really there needs to be a third competitor in that marketplace, not just AMD as a small brother, 20% or less, and then NVIDIA. It's just not good for the marketplace. And so go ahead.
For Intel, it's not like they lost everything, because they may have lost Shrout, but they brought over Robert Halleck just recently.
Well, yeah.
And they still have Tap. So if you're worried about Battle Mage, it seems like they have some key people to still make that happen. It's a little interesting,
though. It's premature to worry.
But more worried about
if you want to worry, if you want to conflate some, speculate some things here. The recent issue with Starfield launching without proper driver support on Arc, and then Ryan's out the door. They, like Josh said, they had lost some people in the driver, like the software team. So it's
some people's eyes were off the ball at that point.
Maybe
I read one article that tried to.
I think they just didn't have the manpower to do the things that they wanted to do.
I don't think,
and they let even more people go.
No, I'm not saying that Ryan was to blame. I'm just saying, I mean, I wonder if maybe inside of the company there's just a little bit less of a push, because look at it. It's however you want to look at it. Arc is a tiny sliver of the market, and the only reason it has the market presence that it has is because they are selling the cards so cheap relative to the competition. So they can't be making any money.
But it's a tiny slice of Intel too.
Yeah, but it's a 6 nanometer card. It's about the same size as a 3070, which is not that much more expensive right now than the Arc stuff.
You think they have favorable terms from TSMC for the small volume that they're doing?
Probably
Intel?
Not. But with Intel, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe, but I mean, Intel doesn't make the chip. They order it from TSMC just like NVIDIA does.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know.
All I know is from multiple people, and this is before Ryan. I mean, like Francois and some others. Intel is really tough on employees. I mean, it is not what many people would consider to be a healthy environment because the competition is high. And I think that their push there is, the cream's going to rise to the top and they're going to take us to the next level. And all these people who are middling or below, will just be washed out. But the way that they do employee reviews is you've got 50% that does meets or exceeds expectations, and then 50% that is below. And you may have a team of superstars, and you're going to have to grade half of them as below expectations.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can
don't
see
forget
the push.
The 2 huge layoffs that they had over the last 3 years. Like they axed huge amounts of employees at Intel. Over and above that.
And reduced
so it's
salaries.
Been rough there. And well, if you got to stay, but you were cheaper.
Now, on the subject of graphics marketing people and the competitive industry, there's been another
and the
departure.
new rumor we're going to start?
Go another day back. Yesterday, Ryan Shrout leaves Intel. He said it was his last day, the day before. Well, Scott Herkelman is leaving AMD. Quoting Scott on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, quote, "After 7 years at AMD and launching 3 increasingly competitive generations of RDNA graphics architectures, I've decided to leave AMD at the end of this year," end quote. So I find it interesting that he says 3 increasingly competitive generations of RDNA graphics architectures, and we've heard rumors that maybe the 4th generation won't be quite as competitive. That was the rumor, and now Scott is announcing that he's leaving before the next generation of RDNA graphics. Interesting.
Oh, even better rumor.
He may just have something else to go to.
Maybe. I mean,
in this case,
AI is big right now. Raja left Intel to go do AI stuff. Who knows? Maybe Ryan will do AI now.
Yeah. A bunch of NFT people will probably be moving there.
Well, that's the only
that was
place
gonna be my
that
pick.
NFT people can move to right now. Their product is
Instinct
worthless.
AI software is actually caught up. There are some reports out there that is very competitive with NVIDIA at this point.
It's all about
There's
software.
still the NFT barber shop next to my booth store, and they will
It's all about the
cut your
software.
hair for a share in an NFT.
Oh, brother.
It just like makes me laugh every time I see it.
How many of you actually bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club thing?
I'm apparently a lot of people, and they're really upset.
Yeah, not us.
No, I've never bought one. I don't own any
No,
digital assets of any kind.
The only digital assets I have are things on Amazon, and I imagine that they will one day go away, and I'll not be able to watch the things that I bought.
Oh, we bought. Yeah,
Just
you're
like Steam.
leasing them. You're paying for the right to stream them until they take it away. Just like all the stuff in my Steam library. Valve could just delete a game out of my Steam library today, like
Which
they
they
did
did.
today.
Yeah,
They did. They've done this.
Several. Not just Counter-Strike. FIFA's releasing some new 2024 games, so they're just getting rid of all of the ones that are on there right now.
You paid for those. Forget it. Forget them. It's gone.
Hey, speaking of things that you paid for,
Never had it.
We can stop conjecturing about where executives are going to move to in this endless incestuous shuffle that is the PC hardware industry.
Oh, can we talk about where we can dump our dead Bitcoin mining cards on?
Yes, because
Okay.
Newegg, Newegg understands customers. They care about you. This is not a paid thing, by the way. I'm being sarcastic, but Newegg is a business that sells computer hardware, and we're kind of going through this. Don't call it a recession, but it's a recession kind of time where the value of the dollar is plummeted, and people don't have the money to buy these increasingly expensive graphics cards. What a perfect time to make graphics cards twice as expensive when our money is worth half as much. It's brilliant. It's amazing. We're amazing time to be alive right now.
Right. Yep. We should
PC
start treating them like cars. What do you say? Let's treat them like cars.
Okay.
Yeah, let's put all of the technological marvels in a car and have our base car cost $32,000.
I think
So that's the base that you have to pay if you want a new car.
possibly
And that's a
Similarity.
disposable model. It's only good for 3 years. Tops.
possibly a better analogy than the car one is the phone analogy. Now, this is obviously a little bit bigger than your average phone.
Hello.
But for years,
I had a Motorola phone about that size.
remember
It had a
when
better antenna, though.
remember when smartphones got to $600, and I mean $600 when the first iPhone launched. The 8 GB model was $599. It's
Sorry, my iPhone is ringing.
inconceivable to pay that much for a phone. And then they crept up to the point where iPhones just became $1,000. They've been $1,000 like 5 generations in a row, including this generation. Yes, $1,000, $999 for the current phone. That flip phone that Kent is showing off, that thing is like $15.99. Those are not inexpensive devices. Yes, Newegg now offers a graphics card trade-in program, just like Verizon and T-Mobile and AT&T and all the others that say, bring in your old phone and we'll give you, pennies on the dollar for it. But it's still better than listing it yourself on sketchy websites like eBay, where you have to deal with insane buyers and fraudulent claims. And seller fees, which are well over, I think, 13% now. So, yeah, trade it in to Newegg. Trust Newegg. You get an offer. They confirm your model, the condition that you claim. And, oh, no, I never mind with it, ever. And then you send it in, and one of their team will then go through it and decide whether you were telling the truth or not. And if they approve it, you get credit to use at newegg.com. So you can, buy a new GPU and subsidize the cost without having to sell it yourself. That's the idea. That's the dream. And it sounds okay, except for the whole, and they even give you a free shipping label, so you get to ship it to them for free. But then,
Won't somebody think of the GPUs? They need subsidies.
Yeah. I'm just a little worried about what's going to happen when a bunch of people send in their GPUs and they only have so many people working, and they're supposed to inspect them and decide if it matches the submitted information. Then if they decline it, no credit will be issued and the graphics card will be returned to the customer.
Your GPU is only worth $15. I'm sorry.
Right.
What is this? GameStop?
The shroud is cracked. We can't accept
The fan
this.
doesn't work.
And one of the fans is a little noisy.
I want to take your analogy one step further. When do we go on an installment plan?
Well, you already can.
That you
It's called a credit card.
buying the next. Well, sort of.
No, every website now is doing like the pay in 4 thing, like Klarna and PayPal's pay in 4 and all that stuff.
I want to lower that friction.
4 easy payments of $872.
I want to lower the friction to Verizon level, to AT&T level, to the Apple level, where it's just simply send it to me, and you know what? I'll pay for it over the next number of years. And
this
whatever I've got
sounds
in hand,
suspiciously like you're one of those iPhone subscribers. Are you, Brett? Do you pay your 50 or 60 a month and just get a new iPhone every year?
I buy my phones outright. But I mean, I'm just going to roll it over to the next year and just keep paying the same amount for the next generation. I think we're getting close to GPU as a service.
Well, that's the dream, isn't it? You don't even own one. You just rent it
online. You just rent it.
Steam Deck isn't doing too bad with it.
I don't mean over the internet. I mean, you get the physical hardware.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
time ago.
It's essentially rented.
Yeah, so what they do is they'll send you a 5090 card, and if you pay them $35 a month, they will activate enough cores so it behaves like a 5060 card. And if you pay them $50 a month, they'll activate a little more, and it will behave like a 5070. And, that's which is what they're doing in the car industry right now, which is just terrible.
So who is going to trade in their GPU with Newegg? Who's going to be the test?
I noticed there's no price for the 1080 Ti. I was a little disappointed.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
In our next story, Intel. I'm not talking about Ryan Shrout anymore. This is just a different Intel story. Ryan's not involved anymore. Intel has clarified some confusing information that was floating around from Intel about the new Core Ultra, aka Meteor Lake. We talked about the architecture last week. It's very interesting. They're doing some new things. It's very much a mobile-first kind of product. And their executive VP and general manager of the Client Computing Group, Michelle Johnston-Holthuis, said in an interview with PC World, she was saying something to the effect of, yes, it's coming to desktop. I mean, isn't the dream to have all of your platforms running the same architecture? And apparently that's not the case, unless you're counting AIOs. And this is, to me, this is just Broadwell all over again. It's never going to be sold to the general public. I guess technically Broadwell
same but different.
Broadwell had a couple of socketed variants, though. I don't know if it was ever in any desktops other than the iMac. The iMac had Broadwell for a while. But it's either an all-in-one or a mini PC or a laptop. But Core Ultra, there will not be an LGA 1851 for the Meteor Lake architecture.
You need a whole new motherboard series. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So in case you were hoping, in case you saw that interview with PC World and said, oh, great, she said it's coming to desktop. Well, all-in-one desktop. But that's the case with every mobile architecture, going back to the first Intel Core Duo, which was in the Mac Mini and the iMac, the laptop variant. The Core 2 Duo was desktop socketed, then Core Duo was the mobile BGA.
Yeah.
So just clearing that up. That was a story at videocards.com if you want to read more. And our next story, also at videocards.com, Microsoft Cross Adapter Scan Out, which is CASO, delivers 16% FPS increase on laptops without a dedicated GPU / iGPU mux switch. Please enlighten me on what all of this means.
Well, as you may be aware, many modern laptops, as illustrated by the diagram, if you scroll down a little bit, maybe people aren't aware of this. The discrete GPU, when it's engaged, often has to send the output straight through the standard integrated graphics in order to reach the screen. Only very, very high-end laptops actually have a real multiplex switch to directly connect the screen to either the discrete GPU or the integrated graphics. Microsoft has come up with a way to get away from the latency and double copy of the discrete GPU to the iGPU out to the screen and directly lift the output from the discrete GPU and get it onto the screen, lowering latency and increasing frame rates. So good on them for overcoming a quote-unquote hardware limitation with some clever software. I'm praising Microsoft here. That doesn't happen.
So you're saying is CASO makes everything better. It makes
It can make
better.
burgers better. It can make the lack of a hardware mux in your laptop improve your gaming experience. Hands down, approving. Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure you're not using the one that starts with a Q. This is CASO.
The nice thing is it works in NVIDIA, it works in AMD, and it's built into Windows 11. So you should be seeing this improvement in a laptop near you.
That's nice.
I'm still trying to understand what you were just saying.
I don't understand anything.
I'll give you the TLDR on this. In order for discrete GPU output to reach the screen on a laptop, it needs to be copied through the iGPU, and that's a sort of a double operation. Microsoft has come up with a way to lift that data directly from the discrete GPU of a laptop and get it directly on the screen without a double copy.
Without any additional hardware. You can do this on existing hardware.
Additional hardware.
That's very interesting.
That's what they're saying.
That's cool.
It says NVIDIA's confirmed.
They did not describe this, how it's done.
NVIDIA has confirmed that CASO will work with all GeForce GPUs currently using driver version R515 or newer, Intel GPUs require Xe graphics on Intel 11th Gen Core Series or newer, and WDDM driver model 3.0 or newer. AMD Radeon 6000 GPUs or newer will support this technology with WDDM driver 3.1 or newer. So yeah, existing stuff that's out there. 16%. This could
at
be
27% lower latency.
That's not chips.
This could be the biggest story of the
That's
year.
a nice meal.
It'd be great, especially if it works well.
Let's see if it works.
Good job, Microsoft.
It makes me want to use a gaming laptop. If I
You should try this and go back and forth between Windows 10 and Windows 11 on the same laptop if you can get one that supports both.
I don't hate myself that much. Boot it up to Windows 10, then boot it up to Windows 11.
Hey, I was just trying to think about how would you prove this works?
And then emulate Windows 98 SE in it and see if it works.
You know what? That's a Sebastian thing. He can do that on his own time.
Yeah,
You know what? They should totally go back to 3DFX model with voodoo graphics where you hear an audible click that it goes back and forth.
Next news story, Google Bard's voyeurism expands to all of your Google apps. That's disturbing. What about in schools?
Oh, no. I mean,
schools everywhere use
got
Google.
A bunch of friends.
Classroom. Okay.
And it's really hard to plan when you're all going to be able to meet up. You can give Google Bard access to all of your Google apps, including the calendar, and then share that access with your friends. So Google Bard can tell you when the next time the best time to meet up is based on everyone's calendar. It will fix the amazingly horrifically bad online version of the Google search. You're trying to find something in your Google Docs, and that search is awful. It won't find anything except stuff you don't want. So you let Bard read all of the contents of your Google Drive, and it will make that search experience much better. And Google promises they will not provide any of the data they've scraped to advertisers or third parties. Didn't mention about using it themselves. And I mean, seeing as how it is the 25th anniversary of them, and they're sort of pushing that a lot, the fact that at some point, one of their driving phrases when they first started out, someone wanted to have a donut sale, and so they stole the don't off of the logo to go and put it up with their U so they could say donuts, and now it just says be evil, is a bit of a problem. The trust chain here is not good, Google. So the fact that you have opted in everyone to have this extension enabled. By the way, it's enabled for you. You don't know this, but it is. You have to go in and manually turn this off. And I did a little bit of digging tonight. I didn't have much time, busy day, and I couldn't find it. It's in there somewhere, but you can now turn off Bard's scraping everything from your Google apps. And it was a fairly short story that I read, so I don't know whether or not this applies to the enterprise version or not. And I think Google is being a little bit cagey about that as well, because they're like, hey, it'll make your searches better. Because there are a lot of companies out there that use Google Apps and will install the desktop version of it, who may now have Bard snooping through everything. And we're not even at Security Corner yet.
It felt like a Security Corner story, but we're not there yet. You're right. Because we haven't...
No, it gets much worse.
We haven't overreacted to Wi-Fi 7 this week yet. As you know, Wi-Fi 6, 6E, these mature standards that are in wide use everywhere, with everybody's on fiber. We clearly need more and more and more wireless bandwidth. And that's not sarcasm at all. And Amazon's Eero Max 7 mesh router will give you the Wi-Fi 7 you need for just $600. Now, this will allow you to download 4K movies, presumably from their service, in just 10 seconds. But it'll be a few years before you can truly take advantage of those speeds, says Wired magazine here.
Where are you going to get 10 gigabit to your house is what I wanted to know. But yeah.
In theory, it's possible. So why not buy the hardware now?
You need to be ready for it.
Why not buy the hardware now that will be obsolete by the time this standard is actually in wide use?
And it won't even be this standard. It'll have shifted probably.
Exactly.
It'll
be something else.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi 7 is weird because it's not... Okay, Wi-Fi 6 is 6 gigahertz.
Yes.
That's where the 6 comes from.
Ooh.
Wi-Fi 7?
It's because Wi-Fi 5 was before.
Wi-Fi
It just
7
that made sense.
is 6 gigahertz also, but
Except
wider. It's using more channels at the same time. So there's more
and
potential.
it's happy to wear the same channel as some other signal is wearing.
That's the thing.
At least this device actually comes equipped with a 10 gigabit port. I think a couple of them actually.
Does it?
So
I guess it would have to.
two
What's
of
the
them, I
point
think.
otherwise?
Their heart is in the
I
right
think two
place.
10s and two 2.5s.
That's correct. 2 10s and 2 2.5s.
Let's pause here for a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
How would you like to get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients delivered right to your home, specially dialed in with seasonal recipes? Well, we've been raving about all that and more with our recent experience with HelloFresh. They're going the extra mile to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. So why not kickstart your busy fall routines with HelloFresh too? Let HelloFresh handle the meal planning and grocery getting on your behalf, essentially letting them do the hard parts, and you get to take the credit later. With today's super busy schedules in mind, HelloFresh has 15-minute meals that let you serve up a home-cooked dinner in less time than it takes to get takeout or delivery. Bam! But HelloFresh has even more. You can stock up on easy breakfasts or quick lunch options in addition to their 40 weekly recipes and over 100 add-on items to choose from each week. Seriously, HelloFresh makes meal planning a snap, which is one of the reasons we've been enjoying it so much. So get HelloFresh and go to hellofresh.com/50PCPer and use code 50PCPer for 50% off, plus 15% off for the next 2 months. Get started with your sampling of America's #1 meal kit and go to hellofresh.com/50PCPer and use code 50PCPer for 50% off, plus 15% off the next 2 months.
We are back, and it is time for Security Corner. And our first story is, appropriately, from Bleeping Computer. Trend Micro fixes endpoint protection 0-day used in attacks.
I find these particular ones of interest. They're noteworthy because this is a device called the Apex One, and it's been around since 2019 or so. This is a 0-day vulnerability in an endpoint security solution. And I just think there's such a sort of a delicious irony to this sort of thing, that there's a 0-day vulnerability in an endpoint security solution. Now, in all fairness, this is not actually, I mean, it is Trend Micro's device, so they're ultimately responsible, but it was with a third-party uninstaller package where
That's the part that gets me. An uninstaller package?
Yeah. Kind of strange. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to go on with this one, but that was kind of what I wanted to say.
I read that and I was like,
particularly ironic.
How does that even make sense? You've paid for this. It's a security appliance that you want to be secure, and you are randomly using a third-party uninstaller module that came with what is it? Software bundled with it?
That's a good question. You actually
have to go out and download?
It just seems like that as a vendor of a security product, that you would really heavily vet or block out anything that you couldn't fully kind of peek inside of and make sure that was going to be very secure. You know, one wonders. Now, I do have to admit, you have to have the previous administrative access to the device in order to sort of wedge this from the outside. So it is of limited usefulness if you don't already have these credentials. But there are disgruntled employees out there, so you know the potential for business risk is potentially high if you're using one of these devices. And this again is the I think it's the Apex One circa 2019 era. But yeah, patch that thing or get rid of it.
And
one of the two.
Apparently, worry-free business security.
Is that literally what their tagline was for that one?
That was that was how it was sold. Was worry-free business security.
That gets me
also known as Virus Buster Business Security in Japan.
Yeah. So this is a worldwide product. It's not just US. It's worldwide.
Yeah. So how do you know that this program's been installed? Oh, we just dump this little file on so that it knows that it's been uninstalled. Okay, that sounds good. Wait, what is that file you dump? Oh, well, it's a Trojan. You know, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm just laughing because this next one, which I missed, I did not see this until now. Thank you, Brett. This is horrific. This is smegging horrific.
Sebastian, if you want to intro this one.
Well, this is from Ars Technica. GPUs from all major suppliers are vulnerable to new pixel stealing attack. Interesting.
Currently, this is a proof of concept done by an investigative company of fairly smart, hacky type people. Not on the on the bad side of the log yet, but this is again a proof of concept. And what this is they have reverse engineered.
They have more proof that iframes suck.
What they have done with a web interface and an iframe and the SVG, which is structured vector graphics protocol, is to figure out how a rendered image inside this iframe and how it is retrieved and stored from a particular vendor's GPU, what algorithm they're using to do that. And based upon the reverse engineered storage compression algorithm that they're watching this traffic going back and forth between memory and the display, the GPU memory and the display, knowing the reverse engineering, the compression, every character, every pixel element has a known end value if they know the algorithm. So once they know the algorithm of compression, they can reverse it. So they're looking at the compression and saying, we think we know this pixel, whether it was on or not. And this demonstration shows an image of some text on the screen. This could be your password. This could be your login ID. It could be a variety of information that you're typing in any form field that they can spy upon and regenerate based upon an encompassing iframe in the browser. Again, this is proof of concept, but very interesting, and what they would definitely refer to as a side channel attack.
Yes. Of which I don't think the GPU companies have any idea how to properly implement something to stop it, at least as of yet. It's going to take a bunch of research to try and figure out, oh, wait, we're just sort of leaking this stuff to the side channel because it's super easy and it makes things go faster. And are we going to have, Spectre and Meltdown equivalent on a GPU of, we can make it secure. You're going to lose 10 to 15% of your performance, maybe 20.
It's similar in nature in regard that it's a kind of a side channel attack on the mechanism of how it's actually executing the data it needs to work on. It's not a fault of the particular vendor. It is cross vendor. It's with NVIDIA. It's with AMD.
It's all vendors.
Apple. I guess there's they list 6 vendors. There's a couple of other ones in there for mobile devices. But the point is, it's just a byproduct of the fact that they're using a compression algorithm to store the pixels and retrieve them. And because it's algorithmic, they can look at the algorithm and say that a particular pixel was either on or the series of pixels was on or off based upon the compression that they're seeing. It's a sort of a very interesting side channel attack. No proof, no legitimate harm is being done yet. Again, this is a proof of concept. So the headlines that are screaming GPUs hacked are wrong at the moment.
Next, Security Week has a story on Firefox 118, which patches high severity vulnerabilities. What are these all about?
These are.
Well, the good news is one only crashes you. The other right one is exploitable.
They're vulnerabilities. So they are in memory issues where there's like double freeze or multiple nulls or the ability to overwrite. Again, these are vulnerabilities. So they aren't actually exploited, but they're potentially exploitable because of the memory corruption and crashes that this situation does induce. So this is a patch. Get out there, patch Firefox, make sure you're at your latest. And for all of them, again, this is just a vulnerability, but it's Firefox's turn to get patched. No one is immune.
Let us move to gaming quick hits, and we begin with a story. Microsoft leaks Dishonored 3 Remastered, Fallout 3, and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
That's a semicolon. It leaks Dishonored 3 Remastered, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls 4. Dishonored 3 has not been released, but maybe.
Okay.
Because this all came out from FTC versus Microsoft. This is actually a document from 2020. Because the Oblivion remaster should have been out last year. it wasn't. Perhaps for obvious reasons. On the other hand, it's, Fallout 3 remaster, okay, interesting. Dishonored, hey, I enjoyed that series. That was entertaining. And we never really knew if Bethesda was going to do a third one or not. But I mean, now that Microsoft can just sort of throw money at it, it sounds like, yes, we are getting one. The original was 2024. It's still possible. Same with Fallout 3 remaster. But we'll see. I mean, it could be delayed when we're starting to head towards the season where all of the shows happen. The gaming and the technology shows. So pretty much, if you see a trailer for it, it's going to happen. If you see nothing from Microsoft, well, there's a good chance that nothing ain't going to happen. Rock, Paper, Scissors, actually, the entire list has about 8 different games, one of which has already been released, several of which are definitely in development. So there's a good chance. I mean,
Okay, so
Oblivion's certainly not
the deal. Here's the
Yeah.
deal. How many actually have finished Oblivion? I did.
I did.
I'd
It disappointed me.
Yeah, well, I don't care. But yeah, it's one thing that I've always wanted to finish. And now, the graphics look just so dated. And it's clunky. Just remaster it like everything else. And
Well, Josh,
and recycle, reuse.
it's still going to be
cheaper.
clunky, but it'll look better.
You're probably right. I'm just fooling myself.
Redo Morrowind.
We're so
Morrowind
fickle as a
was
society now. We look at an aging game and we just say, this is unacceptable. My eyes cannot be subjected to these graphics from 2000, whatever. But what about people? People age and they don't look as pretty as they did when they were young. And you're telling everybody that they
And
have
their
to get
eyeballs don't work
cosmetic
as well.
surgery because
that's
they're
why
out
I'm
of
getting
date
a
now?
divorce.
Okay, you just upgrade
All right.
to a younger model. All right, well,
I can get divorced.
okay. We're not
Elder
advocating.
Scrolls,
Not advocating
silicone
that.
version.
That's what we have to just cut that out. It's too.
Let's talk about what you're.
We don't want to be
let's talk about your-
demonetized because we're too depressing and people. Yeah, there's the scissors
I
again.
think that's what people like now.
Next up in gaming quick hits, Cyberpunk 2077's 2.0 update added a hidden Doom clone filled with secrets.
Don't you remember, when you try and check out exactly everything that's in a game, and so you'd find a random mattress and you'd stand on it for a very specific amount of time and it would unlock this thing, and then you could go and do something else, and then that would unlock another thing that you could do. Well, this is...
And at the end of the
what
level,
gamers-
they would tell you how many secrets you found.
Yes. But
Yeah, that's
That
very
was
Steam
just a
like.
secret.
Very, very Steam.
Always.
Very id like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, Josh, come on, it said 99%, and you were just like, yeah, but I did everything. I clicked on every wall. Yeah, but you didn't stand in this one particular spot for 18 seconds and then turn around and run the other way.
Yeah, you
And
had to
then
be
the other door
crouching,
opened for
stand in
another-
one
Right.
spot and crouch.
Jeremy, it's stand on a mattress for 207 seconds. You know that.
Yes, but in this particular case, it is for a cutscene in a special vehicle. But the other thing is that there's a little note in the middle of nowhere that gives you a little Easter egg to say that you should run somewhere else in Night City, and you run into an arcade machine, which is running sort of a 90s, it's running Doom, except you're Johnny Silverhand taking over Arasaka Tower, and it gets even better, because apparently in the 120 floors that you have to go through to win the game, there is a part where if you go to a certain port on a certain part of the 52nd floor and wait for a long time and then run back down to the 10th floor, you can then get QR codes to scan, and then using the Reed-Solomon error correction. Wait, wasn't that the name of one of the characters in
Solomon Reed,
Cyberpunk?
indeed.
Yeah, weird, huh?
And it's
And-
pieces. You don't even get the whole code. You get 6
No,
pieces.
because you've got to do
of
the correction.
That's correct.
And so you run into an unwinnable game of X's and O's, which, as soon as you lose, says the quote, it's going to say from War Games. the only winning move is not to play.
Is not to play.
Is not to play.
So they've thrown a whole bunch of Easter eggs, apparently, in this upgrade, which is just kind of fun. I like to see it.
Someone in
It's
chat said,
it's the Cyberpunk 2077 Swan song, so...
Yeah. Well, the engine's
I've been
dead.
playing it quite a bit in the spare time I've had over the last week or so. First with just the patch, and then I started a completely new campaign once the Phantom Liberty DLC dropped. So I've not gotten to any of the new content from that
pounded
yet.
Dog Pound?
But it's kind of funny. I'm really a story-based game player. I enjoyed like the Witcher 3 series. I enjoyed that game because of the story in it, and I found myself really enjoying Cyberpunk for the same reason. It's a very story-rich game. A lot of people didn't like the story. I personally enjoyed it. Thought it was a well-told story, and I'm enjoying getting back to it again after being away from it for some time. Seeing maybe some new things here and there that I actually didn't notice the first couple of times through.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed one odd thing that I'm finding different from a lot of the reviewers. I am finding that I prefer it without ray reconstruction or fully path traced rays, and
Why?
just using the original. One thing I noticed has to do with facial textures and hair. I was noticing that if you were turning on DLSS new features with the ray reconstruction and the fully path trace lighting, it was almost like to give the graphics cards a little extra headroom. They really turned the detail down on hair and facial textures and like beards. And of course, as Johnny Silverhand has a beard and is in a lot of the game cinematics, it was very obvious to me.
Are we talking like Bethesda level faces? The old botulism look? Okay,
No. I was just like, so when I first reinstalled it and uploaded the patch, and I turned all these new features on, and I was looking at it, and I was going, God, I really remember this game, the faces looking better than this. And actually last night I was playing, and so I was like, let me look at this with some of the old settings. And so I turned off, some of the DLSS settings. I was able to still leave frame generation on, but have DLSS turned completely off, and just use the original ray tracing settings, not enabling the fully path traced or the ray reconstruction. Still have plenty of performance, and it looked better. It looked like I remembered.
Somehow you were managing to squeeze that all onto your water-cooled 4090, right?
Yeah.
Gosh.
It's
somehow.
I think you have more options than most people.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going.
Power.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but I was able to play it at these settings with a 3090 as well.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
some of us are still slumming on GPUs.
Not even a 3090
probably
Ti.
below the 3090 level.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying. I found it looked better with the old settings, specifically the facial textures. The terrain, the terrain did look better. But, if I'm talking to someone in real life,
I think there's just some bias here because as a bearded individual, Kent is just like, the beard detail in the character models is not as good in this path trace iteration.
I see myself in Johnny Silverhead.
I think he probably maybe even modeled himself. Did we really know him before Cyberpunk was announced?
Yes.
Before it was announced?
Announced?
No, not before it was announced.
No, you could have been carefully cultivating your entire persona that we know now based on Cyberpunk for the last decade.
No.
Let's move to the next story. Unity. We talked about Unity before. They've apologized. Imagine that.
Sorry.
You do something really dumb. Everybody hates it. Everybody complains about it. It doesn't matter what kind of a front you put up. You're going to have to backpedal. So why do it to begin with? Just to foster ill will? I don't understand.
To lose about 8% of your share value,
I guess. And that's what really happens. Is you start to lose
which is true.
That's why they
and they have to backpedal. So Unity, this is a story at the Register. Unity apologizes, tweaks runtime install fees after Gaming World outrage.
Basically, they're allowing everything that's out there today. Anybody that has a license for today's latest up back to like their 2019 game engine, their agreement remains the same. And that's where a lot of the rage came from, is because a lot of the developers got into the Unity engine because their agreement was, we're not going to change things. We're not going to charge you, like essentially they just announced that they were.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, unfortunately. So part of the backpedaling was just to say, what you're doing today, the way that we're going to arrange it doesn't disturb what's happening with you today. But moving forward on a particular engine that might start in 2024-ish timeframe, if you're on a particular license, and they sort of played around with some of the dollar figures about how many installs and how much revenue that you're getting. I think it's like 1 million installs, $1 million revenue, something like that. Don't quote me exactly on those numbers.
They never cleared up the per core problem.
Not exactly yet, but they're zeroing in more probably where they should be, I guess, if they need to make some more money off of this. And it's a point going forward, and it's only for certain enterprise and agreements, and they've sort of raised the ceiling on some of their smaller boutique installations and installs that won't reach those particular levels, and keeping those at the current rate. Either way, they've
capping
really
it
shot
at 20
themselves.
Is a huge jump from what they were going to.
Was
20 cents per install is the maximum.
Was it double that before?
It was almost like 40, 50 cents per.
Okay.
Yeah, so they backpedaled on that too. But the thing is that they haven't quite realized that everyone is using Unity because it'd be a pain in the ass to shift to a different engine. If you're telling them in the next year or two, this is what your license agreement is going to be, they're going to switch to Unreal. They're going to switch to another engine. And we'll see Unity backtracking even further because they were the cheapest to develop on. It was a solid engine, although a couple of developers did go through a thing where Unity went from, was it Unity Engine 4 to 5? Where it broke a bunch of stuff. And so a bunch of projects had to restart again from scratch. But hey, we're sticking with Unity because it works. It does great top-down, does decent first-person shooter, and it's cheap as chips, and we're a small development company. We're not making billions of dollars. We're not id. We're not Bethesda. We're not, well, wait, there is no Bethesda anymore. It's Microsoft. But we're not a giant developer company. We just want to make a game. We want to make a mobile game. And a lot of Unity is mobile games. And they're making not much. I mean, they're making enough to live on. They're not starving to death. But all of a sudden, for their bread and butter engine to say that, no, we want a huge chunk of your income, and them saying, yeah, that's not really possible for us. Let's go to one that, you got to bring $1 million before they really charge you any serious money. And so they backed off, and they said, nope, sorry, we misjudged, and, the upper levels up there, you don't tell them, but yeah, they're idiots. Saying that, within a couple of years, we are going to put this in means that there's going to be a huge migration from Unity for now. We'll see. And again, as we mentioned with Trend Micro, I mean, once you break the trust, it's hard to get it back.
Yeah, they're going to suffer from this for a while. Look for more mentions of open source engines like Godot. I think that's how you pronounce it, or is it Godot?
It's waiting for
could be French.
Godot.
But there was a couple of developers who took a week to port a game, really poking Unity in the eye on it, and they developed a game. It's on Steam. I'll have to go get the name of it, but it's a way to reinstall. It's like a click game of Unity. They change the names to protect the guilty. But anyway, Godot or Godot if you're going to anglicize it. But yeah, look for more mentions of that. I think you'll be seeing that in the future. Unencumbered open source engine.
Or you won't hear anything from Unity ever again.
No.
Still waiting for Godot.
We're going to move to picks of the week, and we have an unprecedented occurrence here. We have a consensus pick of the week. Both Josh and Brett have picked the same thing independently of one another.
We didn't even talk about it.
No, they haven't spoken at all before this moment, except for the previous hour and a half that we've been streaming.
That doesn't matter.
But Josh, please, your take.
So here it is. You know what? I've got new fiber internet, and I'm looking. I've got 2 computers with 2.5 gig Ethernet, and I think it's $10 more for 2 gig fiber. But I only have 1 gig network. So let me check out what the cheapest Ethernet switch that supports 2.5 gigabit. And I found Nick.
Wait, you picked the...
Couldn't do it.
Okay.
No, this is actually different.
Oh my god.
His link was different, but this is mine.
The brand name is spelled NICGIGA. So I assume it's Nick Giga.
As in network. Yeah.
There are
interface
connection.
There are
control.
way too many N's and I's and G's and A's in this brand name. It's very uncomfortable.
You know
but
what?
that's what they call themselves, and it's on Amazon.com. Well, anyway, in general, 2.5 gigabit switches are getting cheaper and cheaper. There are these, look at this, 8-port unmanaged desktop Ethernet switch. I don't even know what brand this is. There's no apparent brand.
I know what brand it is.
Oh, I know what
$95.
it is.
I think it's been debranded.
It's the same brand.
It's
It's the same brand. The TrendNet one is actually the only named one you just passed. Now, if you scroll up a little bit,
there you go.
That silver one right there is the silver one right there is the same. Yes, Soul Data.
Okay, so they call this one Soul Data. Sodola. Okay,
sorry.
Right, and it's the same 10% off coupon. Okay, we'll just insert this over the other one when we're talking about it. Wow, what a deal on a Sodola 8-port Ethernet switch.
With 10 gigabit backhaul. That's right, Josh. Backhaul.
Okay, all right. Jeremy, save us. What's your pick this week?
I picked a 2.5 gigabit switch.
No.
So in Canada, storage prices are a little different. It's frustrating, but right now there is some nice sales on a website that we might have maligned a little bit earlier, but it has still some certain uses. And getting 10 cents a gig on decent NVMe storage in Canada is not easy. So 50% off the Western Digital Black SN 850X is pretty damn cool. And the entire line is. So if you can't quite afford that, their 1 terabyte is just slightly over 109. And even their 4 terabyte, if you want to go crazy, is only 425. So that's, for up here, pretty damn good deal. And we like cheap storage, and we cannot lie. It's a thing. Just every week, someone has to pick a cheap SSD. Apparently, it's a rule now.
It's mandatory. Like mandatory ARC coverage, mandatory SSD pick of the week.
True.
And those SN850Xs are good drives.
And this one even has a heatsink. 2 terabytes with heatsink.
That has its pluses and minuses. So many motherboards come with an integrated heatsink that you got to break that off.
So not your PlayStation 5 doesn't.
So, granted. No. Okay, you're right.
It's console ready.
True. Yep.
All right, Kent, do you have a pick this week?
Save us, Kent.
I do have a pick this week, and I'm trying to save people from the mistake of buying Bluetooth speakers and sound bars for their new apartments and homes when you can spend maybe just a little more, maybe around the same amount for something that will connect to just about any of your devices and give you fantastic sound. These are the Klipsch
Routers?
the Fives, which is a very strange name. These are a fully powered set of stereo speakers, 4.5-inch long throw woofers, 1-inch titanium tweeters. They will connect to Bluetooth. They will connect optically to your television. You can connect to them via RCA if you really want to. You can even send RCA out from them to your record player or whatever. They will connect to a sub. We actually got a set of these for an office at my job, and I set them up yesterday, and they sound fan-freaking-tastic. Connecting even over Bluetooth.
But better.
What's that?
They fill the room the same way a Bose will, but they do it better.
Oh, yes. And they do fill the room. They have actually just an amazing amount of sound coming from them. I was actually impressed with how much bass they can produce. And they're DSP corrected.
One side of the room to the other, and they're going to be the same. Like in the back corner of the room versus right in front of them, the volume almost maintains the same level, and so does everything. So you're not deafening yourself if you're right in front of them, and if you're off in the corner somewhere, they fill them. No, Klipsch is one of my go-tos. I just don't have any right now.
Oh, yeah. And at $399 for the pair, it's a fantastic deal. And like I said, don't buy a sound bar. Don't buy a Bluetooth speaker. Get these.
All right. My pick this week is a retro pick. We're talking about retro-looking speakers. Well, this is a kind of a weird little motherboard here. At first glance, it looks like any micro ATX board. It's 9.6 inches square. This is a slot 1 board. This is for Pentium 2 and Celeron processors. But what's interesting about this board is actually an Intel board, not some third party.
What are those SDRAM chips being on there?
Exactly. That's what's interesting about this.
What is that about?
This is the Intel RC440BX motherboard. And if you go to the retro web, as one does, you'll see that there's quite a bit of interesting components going on here. But I will go just to the Intel manual to show you what I'm talking about.
32-bit? Okay.
Looking at the technical product specification from Intel for the RC440BX, you can see that it has
a Riva 128.
Yes, onboard NVIDIA graphics with 8 megabytes of dedicated SD-RAM. You have onboard audio. Now, it says here AC97 Crystal CS4297 codec, but it's Sound Blaster branded. So if you were actually to look at this, it is a...
It's an Ensoniq.
Yeah,
it's an Ensoniq PCI.
Yeah, it's Ensoniq.
Pentium 2 board with built-in NVIDIA graphics and an Ensoniq, creative branded Ensoniq audio chip. I don't know if you can see that, but it says...
Yeah. It's all the beautiful things.
Well, I can see it because I know what it said.
Yeah, I could probably actually switch the camera, but I don't know if the viewers will be able to see that.
There you go. ES 1373.
Yep, see it.
And then under this heatsink here is the NVIDIA Riva 128 graphics. There's the dedicated memory. Yep. So an interesting board, which I plan on covering soon. It was one of those late night eBay finds. I was just like, what the heck is this? A Pentium 2 board?
Does it power up?
I don't know.
Okay.
But at first glance, looking at the rear I/O configuration, I thought this is like some kind of HP board or something.
Oh, DVI, VGA.
Because you don't often see...
It's the audio. It's the audio combo. Yes, that's it.
That
I've seen this on
That looks
Pavilion
vendor.
motherboards from Asus, but this one was apparently a gateway board. So it was in certain gateway systems.
Sebastian, are you going to live stream the setup and attempt to boot that motherboard?
Yeah, I mean, I tried doing this before with a couple of socket A's, and it was a horrible disaster. But yeah, I'll do it again. That one's going to be really easy too, because it's 20-pin ATX. It's a modern enough board that you have your option of doing Windows XP or Windows 98 build on it. So
I saw USB-A on it, so you're pretty close.
Yeah, it's got USB 1, possibly 1.1. I don't know. I guess I could look at this spec sheet.
And it's got both mouse and keyboard, not the combo.
Vital. Yes, you need both.
Cheap.
Back in this era, you always had.
Oh, it has a SCSI LED connector on it.
Why?
I don't know. Why would it do that?
I just found this kind of interesting because the Pentium 2 launched with AGP. That was the whole thing.
No.
Didn't?
Wait.
I thought Pentium 2 slot 1 launched with AGP.
No. Launched with the 440FX chipset, which was PCI only. And EDOS. It wasn't SD-RAM. It was the previous.
Yeah,
it was, I can't remember the stinking chip name. But no, 440LX was launched 5 months after.
And that had AGP?
It had AGP and SD-RAM.
So somewhere...
And ATA 33.
And the best implementation of AGP, because it didn't work great.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Intel AGP actually worked well. It was everybody else's that sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you delve into the history of the Intel 740, which of course Intel launches their own graphics along with AGP, and
some of us lived through it.
They had acquired a company from Lockheed Martin,
Starfighter,
and that's what became 740. Real 3D. They got Real 3D because they bought
Real 3D was a different company.
They bought Chips and Technologies in 1997. In May 19, let's see, Real 3D formed a partnership with Intel and Chips and Technologies to introduce similar technology as an add-in board for PCs. A product
and then
known as
Sega
Auburn.
jumped on that.
Yeah, they were going to implement it with Sega's, I don't know. Oh, I guess Sega Model 2 and Model 3 arcade systems. Okay, so not the consoles in home, but yeah, Sega arcade machines. Okay. I have two Intel 740 boards, and I can't get them to work properly. I didn't have the right settings in the motherboard, possibly not compatible chipsets. They're not the most fun retro hardware to play with.
No.
All right, well, I think that'll do it. I think that's the end of another exciting installment of the PC Perspective podcast. Please join us again next week if we're still here and podcasting. We'll do it again.
Yep.
So what to take away from this week is upgrade your home networking socially responsibly. Don't buy a sound bar. We're very biased because of Ryan, so we'll know what we follow next week when he tells us. And other than that, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. Have a good week, and we'll hopefully see you next week.